What do we got?
Yeah, let's talk about Mick Foley. One of the all-time greats. To me, maybe the most underrated or underappreciated or maybe under the radar guy of the Attitude Era. He's kind of like the glue guy to me
No
of
doubt.
the Attitude Era
Yes.
in so many ways. Everyone, oh, Steve Austin, Undertaker, Rocca. Foley is the key to all those guys and all their momentum. So thinking about Mick, let's start off with WWF. I just want to mention this first because I just think this is great. When he first was in WWF was all the way back in 1986. So I don't know if people remember this. He was like Jack Foley, and then he's got all these different names, which is just so funny. Nick Foley, they were calling him at one point, but Dynamite Kid, you know, because he's a job guy. You know, Dominic DeNucci brought in him and Shane Douglas, and you know they're just job guys. Dynamite Kid breaks his jaw. Do you remember this, or did you ever hear about this?
I never heard about this. No.
So it's just a regular TV match. They don't even really give him any respect. He's in generic tights. It's 1986. Dynamite Kid just unloads on him, stiffs the hell out of him, breaks his jaw. Isn't that crazy? Like,
and is that how he got his job? Is that how he got his full-time job?
No. He would hit Japan and the Indies and WCW after this. But that was basically his introduction to the business. Dominic DeNucci kind of trained him. He in good favor. He brings in his guys to be TV job guys, and Dynamite Kid breaks his jaw.
I had never heard that story. Unbelievable, man. Unreal.
And do you think Dynamite Kid apologized? Do you think he cared?
I do not. No, I do not.
No. He said he had a drink. I guess it gets out of a straw. That's how he was eating, or eat out of a straw. Like that's how he gets his, he literally just flat out broke his jaw.
Oh my God. That's brutal, man. That is brutal.
He's a tough guy though. You know, he's not going to say anything.
Oh no. Mick is a tough guy, bro. I don't think people realize how tough Mick is. He is a tough guy. Yes.
If anybody wants to go back, I know WWE has this vault thing that they put on YouTube, but they always put out old matches and guys like matches you wouldn't think the guys were in. So in '86, he wrestled the Bulldogs, the Killer Bees, Kamala, Hercules. He was in a bunch of matches. That if anybody wants to think like, he made his debut in '86, WWF, no, actually '86.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That is awesome.
So when did you first meet Mick? Like when you first saw him, like what did you think of him?
Yeah, no, bro. I first met Mick in 1991 through Arizzi, John Arizzi. Remember Mick? Mick, he was, I think he was working for WCW, but he was doing all those conventions with John because, you know, they were both from the island and John had known Mick and John was the one who introduced me to Mick. That's when I first met him, bro, like 91.
So were you doing Vince's
yes, Vince's World of Wrestling. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you interview Foley or just met him?
Just met him. It was an Arizzi convention, and that's how I met him. Yeah.
Did you think like this guy is nuts? Like this guy's doing all these crazy bumps, all these crazy spots. He's going to get injured. Like what did you think of him at that point?
Well, I remember, you know, watching him at WCW and stuff. And I mean, he was definitely totally unique. He was definitely totally a character. There was nobody else like him. So he without a shadow of a doubt, stood out to me without a shadow of a doubt.
Here's a crazy thing about Foley in WCW. Once he starts feuding with Sting, I know he did obviously many other things. We're not really going to get into WCW. He did many other things, but once he started feuding with Sting, kind of catapulted him to a main event level and a main event spot where you kind of were like, I kind of could see this guy. He's dangerous. He's big. You know, he does crazy moves and unpredictable. He's a good promo. Shockingly, you know, like he's got a crazy character. He's a good promo. Once he starts feuding with Sting, I feel like not only does he kind of get people taking notice of him, but I feel like that's when he really, really got over.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. And bro, you know, when he opened his mouth, I mean, you knew like, my God, this guy can cut a promo and tell a story and he doesn't sound like a wrestler and it's not the scripted same promo. You could tell immediately, man.
Another thing, which is really strange about him, I guess because everybody was so big in that era and there's so many big guys. He's huge. I mean, you don't really realize it. You know, I'm 6 foot. He's probably 4 inches taller than me at least. Like he's a big dude,
bro. He's a big dude. A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah.
Here is great tidbits from Jim Ross. So Jim Ross, like, loved him from WCW, loved his work ethic. He said this guy is a great locker room guy. That he creates no problems. He like everything is positive about Foley. He tries to get him on Vince's radar. Vince, for some reason, and I just interviewed Mick Foley again last month, if anyone wants to check it on the archive, and he still brought this up, so you could tell this was bothering him. Vince was like, "This guy is so ugly." That's what Vince said to Jim Ross. Like, what?
I gotta tell you the complete opposite, bro. When you look back at Mick Foley as a young kid, Mick Foley jumping off his roof.
Yeah, he's not ugly. Yeah,
Mick Foley was a good-looking guy, and bro, to add to that, he married a beautiful model wife. Like Mick Foley is a good-looking dude. It was the missing of the teeth, and it was the not shaving.
Yeah.
But go back and look at Mick before anybody knew him. The guy was a good-looking dude.
But I love it. You could tell because I brought stuff up to Vince. He's like, I can't, or to Mick, and he was like, Vince didn't think I was good looking. He goes, you want to put a mask on me, all this other stuff. And I was like cracking up because you could tell this 30 years later, it's like still annoys him that Vince would be so like rude about it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah.
And he really isn't, even with all that stuff, he really isn't bad looking at all. Anyway.
No,
I mean,
not at all, bro.
Really.
Vince always had a weird way of looking at things. Like Vince never looked at things or people like a normal person would. I never in a million years would say Mick Foley was an ugly guy, ever.
Right. Like Christian too. Remember he was obsessed with how ugly Christian was? It's like, really?
Didn't he want to put something on his face or something?
Yeah, or he needed to wear glasses around him because he's got beady little eyes. Like he would say all this weird stuff about Christian too, which is odd. He doesn't look anything like abnormal. Looks like a normal Joe Schmo, like a regular guy. Like it's very, very strange. But also Jim Ross was like really pushing him. So Jim Ross would say any guy that he was really pushing, Vince would purposely want to like destroy, right? Is that like a weird thing too,
bro? I knew it before you even said it. Absolutely. Bro, that's how Vince and Bruce were together. Like they had this weird bond together where it was always them against Jim Ross, them against Jerry Jarrett, them against Cowboy Bill Watts. It was, so that's why I finished your sentence before you even said it, because positively, absolutely, yes.
So when you think about it too, especially because I was a WCW fan, I was like, wow, okay, if they get Cactus Jack or Mick Foley comes over to WWF, I don't know what character he's going to play, but he's great. He's awesome. Jim Ross, this great locker room guy, a good promo, great worker, great wrestler, can wrestle with anybody. You know, he does some crazy stuff, which is unique, and he sets himself apart, and he's different, and he can fit in with the locker, you know, all the positive stuff. Jim Ross says, you know, I'm the head of talent relations. Vince, this is who I want to bring. He goes, fine, I'm going to bring him in, but here's the thing. I'm going to love it when I fire him because you're going to have to fire him. Right? Yeah. I mean, kind of like a really, really rude stuff.
Absolutely believe that 1,000%. Absolutely. Yep.
So you kind of have faith in the talent relations guy who might kind of know more than you, which is crazy to say, but Jim Ross might actually know more than Vince about wrestling and talent. And
yes.
But Vince is almost like, I'm going to prove that you're not telling me to bring in the right guy. Like, you know what I mean? He's like almost very vindictive.
Yeah. Yeah. It does not surprise me at all.
So Vince doesn't want him. He agrees to bring him in, but he wants to put him under a mask to cover up that ugly face. So he becomes Mankind. But before he becomes Mankind, he go to Creative Services, and it was kind of like more of a mask. They have pictures of it and stuff, but they basically wanted to create this thing called Mason the Mutilator and completely cover his face with the mask. Do you remember this at all? Do you remember seeing
that Mason? I do not remember that at all. No.
Jim Ross is so funny, like talking about it. It's like he wants to cover this guy's face. He wants to wear a mask, and like he's not getting it. But for some reason, Vince isn't seeing it. So they do come up with that Mankind match, which covers up some of his face. Kind of a weird gimmick, kind of a weird name, but at least Mick came up with the name. Like they said Mason, he goes, oh, can't I just be Mankind? Even though that's kind of a weird name and might be kind of out of left field, at least it's better than Mason the Mutilator.
Yeah. I never understood the name. I never understood the mask. I never understood the gimmick. I was working there, bro, and I did not understand any of it. I even remember Vince asked me to write some of his early promos, his real early promos.
Yep.
I didn't understand the character. What am I writing here? I don't understand the character. I did not understand that character at all.
Very weird. He squealed. He was deranged. He was nuts. He would hide in the boiler room. He had George the Rat. So he was like a thing with a rat. So it was like kind of confusing because it's kind of hokey, but it was also like, okay, this guy's like a serial killer. You know what I mean? It was like a mix between both, like completely insane and hokey.
Yeah. Yeah. I did not understand it, bro. I'm being honest.
What was the boiler room like? And he lived with the rats. What are you supposed to be, the Rat King from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I have no idea. That was not me, bro. I did not understand it. And like I said, I was working there and I could not get a handle on the character.
Who was kind of head of creative at this point? When
probably Bruce.
So Bruce is kind of spearheading this weird.
I would think. I mean, there was nobody else. Pat was there part time. You know, Bruce was Vince's creative guy. It was probably Bruce.
So the character itself, right? He's Mankind now, and he's got the weird mask, and he's got the the thing on his hand for the mandible claw. He's just a unique look. Like we said, he's hanging out in the basement, all this stuff. Jim Ross kind of doubles down on it and says, not only do they need to change the locker room culture, they need like more talent. They need to start bringing in new guys. Do you agree with both, or do you think that you just really needed talent? The locker room's not that important.
Wait, say that one more time.
Like, is it more important for Foley to come in and be a new talent and be a new guy on TV, or is it just as important to have a locker room guy who's actually like a good mesh guy?
I think both are very important, bro. I really think both are very, very important.
Does he check both? He's definitely a good locker room guy, right? And he checked.
Oh both. God, yeah, bro. Everybody loves Mick Foley. Everybody loved him. Yeah, bro. Absolutely, perfect guy for the locker room. Perfect all around talent, bro. No question.
How was he working with you and doing those promos? And when you actually have to work with him creatively, is he good to work with, collaborate with?
Oh my God, bro! Mick Foley. You don't tell Mick Foley what to do or what to say. Mick Foley is a guy who does his own thing, bro. You tell him what's got to be covered in the promo. But then he basically just does his own thing, man.
So it's a collaboration, but you're not necessarily writing his verbiage. Like, you can produce the segments and stuff, but you're not necessarily writing all of his verbiage. I'm
not writing none of his verbiage. Basically just telling him this is what you need to get across. This is what we need to get over, and Mick just goes.
So were you producing his segments at this point, or neither?
Early Mankind in the
early Mankind. Yeah.
No, I was not producing those. No, I was not. I was writing some of the stuff for him very, very early on. But like I said, I could not get a grasp of his character. When I'm talking about not writing for him and producing him, that would have been later on down the road.
So when Foley really comes in, here was another great point that JR said. He said Undertaker needed fresh opponents who could work. So who was really Mankind's first feud? It's really the Undertaker. Do you agree with that? Do you think Taker needed fresh opponents? Do you think he needed guys that could actually work rather than some of the other guys that he was feuding with that were kind of just like big monsters and like goofy guys, like Giant Gonzalez guys, like guys that couldn't work? Do you think that not only did he need fresh opponents, Undertaker, but he needed guys who could work?
Yeah, because I think it was important to really bring out and showcase what a great worker Taker was. And the only way you're going to bring that out and showcase that is if he's in there with another great worker. And, I can totally understand that psychology.
When he is there, and I got to be honest, and I know some people would say that's crazy, Foley saves Undertaker's career here. To be honest, Undertaker, to me, I know people would say, "Oh, he's one of the greatest of all time." He was so kind of lame in 95 and 96. He was uninteresting. The character really plateaued. He wasn't really shown to be really a good worker unless he was in there with like a Bret Hart. He just seemed like really boring at this point. Undertaker. Foley, literally, I mean, he breathed new life into him. We saw like a different side of Undertaker. He could work and like brawl like crazy, and it showed like a viciousness. Did you agree with that? He fully kind of saves Undertaker here?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Because like I just said, he was in there with somebody he could work with. So now, Taker could go above and beyond what his character was because he had somebody in there that he could actually work with.
Technically speaking, makes his debut against Aldo Montoya on Superstars in Corpus Christi in a dark match, March 10th, 96. Then the TV debut was the day after WrestleMania 12. For Monday Night Raw, he beat Bob Holly in San Bernardino, California. A short match, like 3 minutes, 20 seconds or so. But really, then he kind of heads up and does the Undertaker feud. And that's really where he gets the ball rolling. And that's really where I think he not only helps Undertaker, but he really kind of cements himself as like, okay, this guy is like an upper mid-card or main event type player. Because, you know, sometimes like they bring in Mark Merrow, right? And you kind of don't know where he fits on the thing. Foley felt like when they brought him in, he started feuding with Undertaker. It was like, this is very believable. This guy is going to do some damage. This guy is a star. I remember him as Cactus Jack, but this guy, I think, is going to be a main event player here. Did you agree with that, or what did you think?
Absolutely. And again, bro, you can look at somebody and know they have the it factor. I say this all the time. Hey, bro, John, can you give me 1 second?
All right, back here talking about Mick Foley, talking about him in the WWF, talking about the Undertaker feud. What did you think about that feud just initially? Did you think it was the right guy to feuding with Taker?
Yeah, absolutely, John, because you know with me, man, everything is a spectacle. And these are two larger-than-life wrestlers. These are two larger-than-life characters. So it's not just another wrestling match. It's two gigantic men, well refined characters, and this is a spectacle. This is the type of match and angle that everybody's going to be interested in.
So Taker at this point, to be honest, and I know people are going to complain or maybe say something about it, but Taker was pretty boring at this point. He kind of lost his edge a bit. He kind of was searching, for the character again. It was kind of getting passe, and then all of a sudden, Mankind comes into the picture and it completely changes. He starts becoming relevant again. He's brawling. He's doing all these things. You're seeing a different side of Taker. I think it really enhanced Undertaker as far as Foley.
Yeah, because also you got to understand too, John, and you understand this, man. You've been around this long enough. Guys, wrestlers take great pride in their work. And, a guy like Taker is not going to be outworked by a Mick Foley. And Mick Foley never in his lifetime, Mick Foley can wrestle a match when he's 90 and he's not going to call it in. So you are getting 100% Mick Foley. And now Taker knows I need to raise my game. He is not going to be upstaged by Mick. So, John, I think it was a perfect storm.
He did some crazy matches. I mean, Foley in Japan, the death matches. He had some crazy matches in ECW. He had some outright wars with Vader and WCW. And this is like just another notch in the belt here because he's going to bring a different side of Undertaker, and it's going to be wild brawls. It's going to be crazy matches. I mean, we're going to see something we maybe never saw at Undertaker either. So Foley's kind of pushing him to the next level.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that Taker was grateful for that. I mean, Taker took great pride in everything that he did. I promise you he was grateful for that.
So here starts the feud, basically, the Undertaker feud. Good friends, better enemies. Taker wins against Mankind in the dark match, setting up King of the Ring at 96, where Mankind wins, shockingly, and Paul Bearer hit Undertaker by accident with the urn. So you're seeing a little bit of a tease there, like, oh, was it really by accident? Was it like, what the heck happened there? So Bearer cost Undertaker the match. Foley gets his first, big win. I mean, that's a huge win a few months in.
Yeah, and it's awesome too, bro, because we're going someplace with a story. So, that spot with Paul Bearer is, like you said, man, it's just a little preview of things to come, which that's the thing, John. Unless you have story, you're just beating people. And that's how you get into 50-50 booking, because there's no story. This obviously was the start of a story with Taker and Paul Bearer. So it's not about Taker losing. It's about, wait a minute, what just happened here? And now the focus goes on the story.
With Foley, right? And with this feud, this immediately elevates him by getting the win. But like you said, also the story with Paul Bearer. Wait, was that an accident? Was that an accident? What the hell happened? Like you're starting to see like cracks in the Undertaker and Bearer too, which is very interesting.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. But again, it's the ongoing evolution of these characters.
What were you doing like at this point? Because I know you're not actually head writer, but you are writing and producing, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely doing a lot of producing, definitely, but also, starting to write a little bit more.
So then we go to the Boiler Room Brawl, SummerSlam 1996, Foley versus Undertaker, Mankind, Undertaker. Whose idea is the Boiler Room Brawl?
God, bro, I want to say it's mine because I think it was, but I don't want to take full credit for it, John. Not being absolutely sure, I don't. So I'm not sure. I'm just gonna be safe and say I'm not sure.
Do you think it's a good idea to have a match where you can't really follow it necessarily from your in the arena, or is it doesn't matter? It's really for the home viewer.
Yeah, no, John, that's always a question, man. And we're always very, very aware to that. That's why they usually wind up in the ring. Usually, if you have a match like that, it usually goes back to the ring because that is something that is always taken into consideration, man, all the time.
SummerSlam 96 here. Mankind gets the win thanks to the Paul Bearer official turn and hit with the urn. So King of the Ring might have been an accident, might not have been. Obviously, it doesn't look like it was. This is on purpose. Now Bearer is going to manage Mankind. Now forget about it. Now Mankind's off to the race. Now he's got Paul Bearer as manager, and he beat The Undertaker 2 matches in a row. Like, wow. Now we're taking notice.
I can remember that so vividly because that was on the cover of the WWF magazine. I can remember that. That was huge. That was really, really, really huge. Man, there were a time when spots like that just really, really, really meant something because, again, it all goes back to people caring about the characters.
What resonated so much with you that you wanted on the cover of the magazine?
I just thought it was a huge spot, like almost historical, not only in the career of The Undertaker, but in the WWE. It was a huge spot. I think that was up there with, Marty Jannetty through the plate glass window, Snooker, and, Roddy Piper. I think that was an iconic moment.
It's so interesting, like with that time period, because that summer of 96 is WCW, NWO. I mean, everyone's kind of watching and turning. Does this turn have anything to do with you guys trying to do something to combat it, or you guys pay no attention to the NWO, WCW? You guys just do what you guys are doing?
John, there was not one thing that was going to change that tide, man. We never, ever looked at it that way. All we were really worried about at this point was putting on a good, consistent show every single week. That's all we were looking at this point.
Because got to be honest, got to throw this out there. Shawn Michaels as champion, not drawing too well here in 96. The NWO is killing them. And it was funny. He made the remark to Hall and Nash when they left that they're going to be begging him to come back, and he's going to be the one that's going to bring him back there. Little did he know that he's probably maybe should be begging them to go to WCW because they're kicking their ass.
And I really felt bad for Shawn during this time period because as the champion, bro, he was doing everything the company was asking him to do. He was going above and beyond the call of duty. And I remember, bro, writing not only writing every single word of his promos, but putting them in a teleprompter and being down at the studio and doing promo after promo after promo after promo with him. He was working his ass off, bro. But the NWO was just so freaking hot. There was nothing Shawn could have done.
Side here, was the teleprompter something that was used a lot? Because I don't really recall.
No, not at all. But we had so many. There were so many that we had to do that I remember specifically winding up using it.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. So then we have the Mind Games pay-per-view where the aforementioned Shawn Michaels here is defending the WWF title against Mankind. And this was something that Foley talked about, how he really wanted to step up his game because nobody thought he was a good worker and this and that. So if he's wrestling one of the best workers in the company and can have a good match and kind of show off a little bit, people then open their eyes. It's like, okay, he's not just like a weird, demented, crazy character. This guy has layers. He can work. He's awesome. Like no matter who. This match, I know, goes to a DQ thanks to the Undertaker here, but this match is awesome here at Mind Game with HBK.
Yeah, I can't like I don't know anybody who was thinking that Mick wasn't a great worker. I think that was all Mick thinking that. I can't imagine anybody watching a Mick Foley match and not thinking he was a great worker, man. I honestly can't.
Buried Alive, 96. Undertaker wins against Mankind in the Buried Alive match. Whose idea, whose gimmick, who's the Buried Alive? Who creates this interesting yet weird gimmick match?
Yeah, that's it. I would say, bro, that was probably, if I had to guess, that had to be a Bruce/Vince idea. I would have to think it probably came from one of them.
I mean, it's interesting and it fits Undertaker's character, but it's like, you got to bury the guy alive. You're not really going to be killing somebody on TV.
Yeah, no, it's funny, bro, because to this day, like, I still don't know how they did those matches. I don't know how it was set up. Like, I still have no idea. I never saw the magic trick. I still don't know.
Oh, wow. So there's like a trap door. You can't really see it because of the camera angles, but there's a trap door. They open the door. He goes under the door, and then you bury him alive. But nobody can see the trap door and everything. But they got to make sure, obviously, that he's out of there before they do that. I would be scared.
Oh, I would be scared to death. I definitely. But everything back then, I mean, God, bro, we had Richie Curtis set up all that stuff, and everything was really so safe.
The Executioner strikes, though, and you guys end up burying, meaning Bearer and Executioner and Mankind, end up burying Undertaker alive here. The Executioner, a.k.a. Terry Gordy, who, not a great use.
Yeah, terrible use, terrible gimmick, terrible idea. I hated all of that.
It's funny that this kind of stuff, little by little, leads to you taking over. You know what I mean? Like corny character here, hokey character here.
Yeah.
What is this? 1977, the Executioner? Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, no, I hated that, bro. I did not like that at all. Yeah.
So that means even though Mankind technically lost, he really gets the win. He loses the battle, but kind of wins the war. Survivor Series 96 happens. Paul Bearer is above an MSG. He's above the garden, if you will, in the shark cage. He's put away in a cage so he cannot interfere. Undertaker gets the win over Foley and kind of, for now, kind of ends the feud then and there and gets the win over Mankind. But what an even Steven type feud, really, if you really look at it, because Foley wins a few in a row, Undertaker wins a few, but then he gets his ass kicked. Very even feud.
And think about everything you're saying, bro. Everything you're saying is gimmicky. Everything. Yeah. It's not match after match after match after match where you win, I win, you win, I win. They're all different types of matches. Like, my God, bro, even the shark. I miss that. I miss throwing the manager up in the shark cage. I think that's a great, great visual, man. Something I learned from Vince Sr., but everything was gimmicked, so it was special and fresh.
Very interesting. I was at Madison Square Garden. I was at the Survivor Series 96. The card is great, and I like the show, and I like the card. But it's interesting who the fans were really into and who they weren't. They were kind of into Austin, even though he was a heel. Brett's return was huge. They were really into Brett. They were kind of giving Foley like the respect stuff. Even though he was a heel, he was kind of getting over. Taker was over, but it was weird. It was like, wow, this smart crowd here in New York is like in these heelish guys that are like kind of the good workers, almost like they're really appreciating these guys. And Sid, forget about it. He's supposed to be the big heel, and he was the most over guy on the show. But it's like they're really into certain guys. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. It's funny the guys they were into back then and the guys they're into today, it's totally different, man.
It's very kind of interesting the way that works. Later on, when Undertaker wins the title at WrestleMania 13, Revenge of the Taker, a few months later, Undertaker retains his title against Foley. So kind of almost put a little button on that feud, like, oh, Foley beat you so many times, he's going to get this title shot. And then Undertaker ends up beating him at Revenge of the Taker to, quote unquote, really kind of get his revenge, kind of just button up that feud. I thought it was great because even the matches, even if there's like some gimmicks and stuff, they really kind of beat the hell out of each other in this
Yeah,
feud.
absolutely, man. And that's the thing, bro. Both of these guys are such great competitors. They're raising the bar. They're raising the bar, and they're raising each other's bar, and they're getting the best out of each other. That's the perfect case scenario, man.
Now you're going to think I'm crazy here. This might be my favorite stuff from Foley. He sits down with Jim Ross and does these awesome interviews.
Yeah, awesome.
Whose idea are these? These
not
were
me,
so
not me.
good.
That was not me. That was probably Bruce. I love that. I love the mandible claw on JR. What an unforgettable moment. Awesome.
And even they're showing Dude Love, like the home videos and stuff. So he's getting over as this like huge baby face. I don't know if Vince realized it or not, but like all this stuff is really like getting him over big time.
Yeah. The Dude Love, I got to say that was my stuff, bro, because Mick gave me those tapes. And I was like, bro, this is a freaking awesome character. Like this, it's kind of like the GI bro-ish bro kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was awesome. And I remember really producing Dude Love and working with Mick on all that stuff. Bro, you're never, ever, ever in our lifetime, you're never going to get a performer that could play 3 completely different roles and you'll believe each and every one of them. You're never going to see that again.
That's what I was going to say. He switched over to Dude Love, and it was so believable because it's like, wow, this guy was like tormented. That's who he wants to be. Like you could tell, like that's who he was on the tape. That's who he thought he was, but he's really this disturbed guy. Like so deep, layered.
Yeah, it's awesome, bro. And who else could do that but him? Who else could do that but him, man?
There's been a ton of guys that did other gimmicks. You're just like, it's just this guy playing a gimmick. It's so lame.
Yeah.
Foley, you're like involved. You're like, oh my, Jim Ross, kick his ass. Like, you're like getting into everything he says. Yeah,
1000%, bro. Yeah,
I love that. He does help Steve Austin retain the tag titles after HBK gets hurt. Austin and Shawn Michaels were tag champs. Austin thought he was a freak, quote unquote, didn't want him as his tag partner, but he's trying to even help Austin, who's getting a huge pop, getting over like. Over at 97,
which is awesome, bro, because of the characters you could play him off of anybody, man. You could play him off of anybody. That's what was great about it.
Austin, great straight man too, because he's like this freak or whatever, and then he's like, all right, you'll be my tag partner. I need somebody with me, and they become tag team champions. Eventually, Austin breaks his neck and gets hurt due to Owen Hart or SummerSlam. So they had to vacate the titles. But it's so funny how they play off of each other.
Absolutely, and he played off that way, off of everybody. You know, Mankind with Mr. McMahon, Dude Love with Mr. McMahon. I mean, whoever, The Rock, of course, whoever you put him in there with, bro, it was tremendous, man.
It's Triple H starts feuding with Triple H. Foley as Dude Love. Eventually, Dude Love, as he rips off the shirt, defeats Triple H in a steel cage match, SummerSlam 97 in East Rutherford, New Jersey at the Brendan Byrne Arena. I was there as well. So great match there. Great show. Then they continue the feud into Madison Square Garden, where you are basically slowly but surely becoming the head writer. 9/22/97, Cactus Jack returns, beats Triple H in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
I loved writing Cactus Jack at Madison Square Garden, bro. That was so freaking awesome. That was so huge. It meant a lot to Mick. I loved booking Cactus Jack at MSG, man.
So basically, he is now in charge of getting other guys over. To me, in my mind, that's like kind of what I'm thinking. Like, right, Undertaker, he was struggling. Okay, obviously Taker's great. How can we get him back over? We'll use Foley. Triple H is here. We need to get him here. How can we do that? Insert Mick Foley. Am I right or am I wrong?
Absolutely, bro. No matter who you put him in there with, he's going to up their game, and he's going to elevate them. No matter who you put him in there with.
And then, of course, Royal Rumble 98, we see the 3 faces of Foley, Cactus Jack, Mankind, and Dude Love. Who is the best? And how do you, like, put this together where it's like, oh, by the way, you're in the match 3 times. You're playing all your characters.
Well, I know that was, creatively I suggested that. How the match is laid out, that's Patterson. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But again, man, like I said, the guy's playing 3 different characters and you think they're 3 different characters. I say Vince some money, bro. that he didn't have to call 3 guys, but you just know whatever you're going to give Mick, he's going to pull off. It's that simple, bro.
Do you have a favorite face of Foley?
Man, see, bro, it's so hard to answer because there were characters inside the characters. Like, I didn't like the first Mankind when, Vince tried to turn Mankind corporate and now he's wearing the tie. Like, that version of Mankind I liked. You know what I mean? So there were different versions of every character. The Mankind / corporate Mick Foley, that was probably my favorite. Even though the Mick Foley wanted to be the guest referee. Remember that, bro? When he wore the awful shirt with the magic marker stripes for like a month. That wasn't an awesome, portrayal of the character. So, like, he gave you so many freaking looks. Dude Love was great to write for. I mean, that was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Yep. So, Cactus Jack was kind of straightforward. That was kind of really easy. But there were so many other layers to the other two.
WrestleMania 14, Cactus Jack, Chainsaw Charlie versus New Age Outlaws. The dumpster match, a great match. They win the tag titles that night, but then get stripped the next night and have a rematch in the steel cage match against Road Dogg and Billy. They end up losing that match, but it's so interesting what happens afterwards that the crowd is chanting for Austin. DX takes over. Remember, X-Pac made his debut earlier, and it's DX in the cage, full-blown heels now. They're like the dominant faction. NWO ripoff, we'll say, the DX there. But you have an NWO member. You have Waltman, so all is good there. You have X-Pac. Is the idea set in motion then or not for Austin's next feud? Because they're chanting for Austin while Foley's getting beat up as Cactus Jack. Because it seems like that kind of laid the groundwork. How does that work for the creative?
It does lend the crowd work, but the fans are dictating. Because of that, we would go in a certain direction. Because of that response, we're going to now go in that certain direction. If that's what you want, that's what you're going to get.
So not necessarily thinking Foley versus Austin for the next pay-per-view until
not at all.
Oh, wow. Really?
Not at all. Bro, again, I told you, John, the 99.9% of the way I wrote was organic. And that's what makes writing easy. You just go with it. They're telling you what they want. They're telling you what to do. You just go with it. And that's how I wrote.
So Foley, obviously he's turning heel here the next week, cuts an awesome promo after the DX beatdown. Fans didn't care. You were chanting Austin's name. So he's obviously not happy with Austin at all. And then another show I was at, the 413 Raw, which happens a week later, basically kind of really ramping this up, or a few weeks later, really ramping this up, really building up. Austin versus Vince McMahon with, and obviously Austin has one hand tied behind his back. Philadelphia, another awesome show, just monumental. This is the night that Raw beat Nitro for the first time in 83 weeks, really 90 weeks if you really want to look at it. So this is such a huge Raw. And what happens at the end when Austin has one hand tied behind his back? Dude Love, Mick Foley beats up Austin and causes the DQ. So Foley's right back in the main event.
Yeah, and it's, bro, it's so, like you said, man, it was so deep on so many levels because the reality of the situation is it's the same guy, and no matter what character it is, Mr. McMahon can manipulate him. Yeah, you know what I mean? Whether it's Dude Love, whether it's Mankind, Mr. McMahon knows how to manipulate him. And again, bro, that's just what made things very, very believable.
Man, it's so awesome. Just the way this all happens, just seems like it's going like perfectly sequentially. Like, wow, that he does have total right. Like he's going to turn the fans. This guy really is kind of nuts. And then Vince totally manipulates him. Who could take out Austin? He's not going to be his corporate champion. He's going to use Foley to do it. Foley is very unhappy. This feud is red hot. This feud is awesome. It's going to last for 2 months, which is great. Foley, aka Dude Loves with Vince. Vince, at one point, I think we talked about this in the past, does some awesome, hilarious dance on Raw that's like everybody breaks character for him.
I know.
He's doing the
Yeah,
dude love.
I know exactly what you're talking about. He's on the stage,
Yes.
and Austin is in the ring, and Austin is doing everything to keep from busting a cut. I know exactly what you're talking about, man.
And one of the dudettes there looks like it's Colette Foley. She looks like she's playing the character of one of the girls that's dancing too there. So
See, I didn't even realize that. That part I didn't even realize.
Yeah, Easter egg there, which is interesting. But
Very
this
nice.
is great. I love this. So it's Dude Love Austin going to feud for 2 months. Unforgiven 98 is the first match. Dude Love defeats Austin by DQ. The rematch is at Over the Edge 98. We've mentioned this before. I think it might be the greatest finish ever, like in wrestling. I just love like. Part A part happens, then B, C, like all the dominoes fall into effect. So Undertaker puts Patterson through a table, puts Briscoe through a table. There, obviously, Vince is the referee for Austin versus Dude Love, the rematch, because he wants to assure that he's going to make sure that only his hand can count to 3, and that Dude Love will win the title and finally get his corporate champion, because Austin is a disgrace to the company. Austin ends up nailing Vince with the chair. Foley gets stunner. Austin uses Vince's hand to count to 3. As a fan, you're like, how the hell is Austin getting out of this one? He's losing the title. And he beats Dude Love thanks to him putting Vince's 3 down. So you kept Dude Love strong, though.
And bro, that's the thing. Like, I can remember sitting at Vince's, living room table, dining room table. You'd probably call it the dining room table. Just figuring out these finishes. You know what I mean? Like, coming up with something that we knew was going to be marquee, box office, sell, people were going to be interested in it. So you book that. Now you got to sit down and figure out how to make it work. Those were the best freaking discussions, man. And that's my problem with today's WWE product. John, is they are churning out so much content because they're trying to serve so many masters that they don't have the time to come up with that kind of creative. They don't have the time to sit there for 2-3 hours and figure out how to make this work. They don't have the time to do that anymore.
For here, Vince is going to end up firing Foley for losing to Austin. He becomes Mankind again, but it's one of those things where he's Mankind, but he has like the shirt, but it's like kind of open, and he's kind of Mankind, but he's kind of lost. He's trying to get Vince's affection back. So it ends up in an epic Hell in a Cell match a few months later at King of the Ring 98, where he loses the Undertaker and takes some of the most craziest, hellacious bumps ever. And I talked to Sullivan about it. He said that's when it's like you knew we were screwed. He's like, did you see that? Like, holy crap. He goes, we're screwed.
Wait, who said that? Because you broke up a little, John.
Sullivan said that about if you watch Hell in a Cell, like those bumps. Okay. We're going to lose the fans that they were seeing this guy take all this stuff.
That match was so real and so believable, bro. I am not lying to you. I was at the curtain waiting for them to roll Mick back just to make sure he was okay, because that match was so freaking believable. I was really, really concerned about his health.
Just, man, crazy. It really helped WWF and it helped put his name on the map, but man, that had to play some serious issues with his health, and he regrets it kind of to this day that he did that, because it really put him in a bind.
Unbelievable, like just absolutely unbelievable.
So then he's kind of feuding with Kane, kind of the Undertaker, kind of the Outlaws. Really, him and Kane is kind of the made feud. A little bit of Steve Austin sprinkled in, but eventually he's going to align himself back up with Mr. McMahon. He cleans himself up. You loved it. He shaved. He cleans himself up.
I remember that. I remember producing those vignettes, man. Oh God Almighty, just so good. Just so good. I mean, Matt, I got John. I swear to God, when we talk about these things, you got to understand. I hate sounding like I'm putting myself over, because I'm not. When I go back and I watch these shows, I generally enjoy these shows. I enjoy these shows. They're good wrestling shows, and I just wish somebody would bring that back and bring those characters back. Bro, when you look at Mick Foley, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Kane, when you look at all these guys, John, these are pros. These are there's no good little hands. No good little, maybe a good little hand would open a show here or there. These are all bona fide professional wrestlers that deserve to be in the spot in the greatest wrestling company in the world. That's who I had the privilege and the honor of working with. And that's why when you tell Mick, we're doing this, you got to cut all your hair off, blah, blah, blah. Mick's not going to have an issue with that. Mick's not going to fight that. Mick's going to understand, okay, bro, he understands his character, McMahon's character. This makes sense, where we're going. And you just had the best in the business at that time, man.
Here too, the comedy with him and Vince is awesome. The creation of Mr. Sacco, him giving him the hardcore title, so many good stuff. How much is this is you and him, or like Vince, or is this all you? Like how do you break that up creatively?
I wish I came up with Mr. Sacco, because I'll never forget this, John. I could not go on that vignette. I had too much to do with the building. I could not go. They went off campus to a hospital and shot that. I could not go. Bruce went. Okay. I had too much going on. There were instances like that where Bruce did a lot of the big things because I couldn't go. Bruce did the DX thing. Bruce produced those, right?
Yep.
So I couldn't go. So they came back and saw and showed me the footage. Bro, when he came up from under that bed with Mr. Sacco, I lost it. I absolutely lost it. And then he told me it was Al Snow. You know, that was Al's idea. Urkel the Clown was my idea. We had used her before, I think, in This Is Your Life, The Rock. So we already knew who Urkel. Which came first? This Was Your Life?
No, this came first.
This came first, and then she made a return visit. Yes, so you know we had the clown. See, bro, you got to understand. Everything I'm writing is what that character would do. He would go visit Vince in a hospital. Yeah. He would bring a clown. He would, bring balloons. It's all what that character would do. But the Sacco, which was Al's idea, bro. That popped me so freaking huge. I thought it was absolutely genius. I wish that was something I would have come up with, but I did.
The best part, too, is Vince, really, you could tell Vince doesn't like him. He's just using him, but he thinks Vince is his buddy, like his father figure. So he's really a babyface who's trying to be heel, who's playing kind of like a tweener. But it's so interesting, the dynamic with him and Vince. It's great.
It's incredible, man. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely, man.
Which, of course, leads up to Survivor Series 98. He thinks, he gets a match with that WCW turncoat Dwayne Gill early on in the show. You think that it's all leading to Foley winning the title. Nope, it's a swerve. The Rock turns heel, and The Rock is the one that's the real corporate champion, not Foley, which, of course, leads to Rock versus Foley in an epic feud as well.
Yeah, and again, it's just a beautiful story, just the way Mr. McMahon is using him. He's the foil. You know what I mean? And you feel so much for him because time and time again, he's trusting him and then he's getting over on him. And that's how you create characters, man, when you feel for them on a personal level.
Huge babyface turn for Foley, huge heel turn for The Rock. Rock bottom 98, gets the win over The Rock, but he didn't submit him. He didn't pin him. Remember, he knocked him out. So Vince goes, no, TKO. Okay, you can't win the title like that. So really, Foley should have been champion, but he's getting screwed by Vince and the corporation. So then the feud continues on. Huge ratings for a Raw 99 Worcester Mass, where Foley wins the first title, where infamously Shivani tells you to, basically flip the channel and Foley wins their world title. And which basically kind of Foley, if you want to say, was kind of the one that put the nail in the coffin for WCW in the ratings, because they never won again after that.
That was such a huge mistake, and that was such a gamble. See, here's what happened, bro. This is where you got to separate. I always say this all the time, John. When I wrote this show, I didn't write a show that I liked. I wrote a show that I think the masses were going to like. And here's where Eric made a mistake. Eric didn't like Mick Foley. It's that simple. So Eric is saying, tune on over Mick Foley. Ha, ha, ha. not realizing, bro, people love Mick Foley. You just told them Mick Foley's going to win the title, but because of Eric's personal feelings towards Mick, it totally backfired on him, bro. That was a huge mistake on his part.
And the pop that Foley got, I mean, obviously everybody loves that. One of the most memorable moments in Raw history.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yep.
Royal Rumble 99. Rock beats Foley in an I Quit match, but of course they cheat, and it's a vicious match, and it's covered in Beyond the Mat and everything else. But man, we've covered it before too. But man, what a crazy match with the headshots with the chair.
I hate that. I can't watch. Yeah, I can't watch that again.
He never said I quit though. They recorded him earlier on Sunday Night Heat saying I quit, which is genius.
Yes.
Good stuff. And then of course, halftime Heat was literally in the halftime of the Super Bowl. Foley wins back the title during the halftime of the Super Bowl. What a cool, mainstream.
Bro, I totally ripped off that idea from Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler in Memphis. 1,000%. That's where I love that match, and that's where I got the idea from.
St. Valentine's Day Massacre. There was a no contest. That was a last man standing match between them. So a lot of matches, a lot of back and forth. Then Raw after that, The Rock beats Foley in a ladder match thanks to the Big Show, and he becomes a champion again. So obviously then Rock goes on to Austin. Foley goes on to Big Show, but the winner of that match will be the referee for WrestleMania 15.
Yeah.
Was that initially supposed to be the match, or was the match initially supposed to be Rock, Foley, Austin three-way at WrestleMania 15?
It was supposed to be a three-way, and Shawn Michaels showed up at a TV taping and got in everybody's ear about how it just should have been Austin and Rock, including Rock. And because of that, Vince took Mick out of the match. That was a three-way match, without a shadow of a doubt. I was so freaking pissed off at Shawn. I cut a promo on Shawn at Hunter, knowing Hunter will tell Shawn. Then Shawn threatened me. I think, was that the only time I got threatened by a wrestler? I think that was the only time I got threatened by a wrestler, but I was so pissed off that Shawn took that away from Mick. So pissed off.
Crazy that he gets involved in something he shouldn't even be involved with, because then Foley does get in the match and it makes it three-way. Not really though, he's just a referee because he beats Big Show by DQ earlier on in the day, so he is a part of the match, but it's just as a referee, so it's a lot different than it really was supposed to be.
Absolutely. And he had earned that spot, and that's why it was set up, and I was the one that had to tell him he was out, and I hated that, bro. Hated it.
Then we have the corporate ministry feud. Cactus Jack returns for one night, and the Union, which was an interesting thing we were talking about in the past.
I think I'm getting close to that. I think I'm getting close to that, John, on my Raw reviews. I think I'm getting close to that.
Shamrock test Big Show and him, or the Union with the Hacksaw Jim Duggan 2x4s, was kind of a weird gimmick, especially during that.
It is a weird gimmick. I got to go back. I'm close to watching that, and once I watch it, I think it'll bring back some things.
Forget which episode we talked about. You said it was inspired by Fist. The
Sylvester Stallone. Well, what are we? Fist. What are we? Fist. Yeah.
He had knee surgery, so he was out for a few months there here in 99. Then Triple H feud once again. So he's kind of again in charge of getting Triple H to the next level. So get him over, get him to the next level. And then now we want it to be a main eventer. Now we really want to push him. So SummerSlam 99 happens. Steve Austin does not want to lose to Triple H one-on-one. So you guys add Foley to the match, makes it a three-way dance at SummerSlam 99 with Jesse Ventura as the referee. Foley ends up getting the pin on Austin, winning the WWF title, but the next night on Raw in a one-on-one match with Triple H defeats him for the WWF Championship. How did all this kind of break down?
Oh my God, bro! I that was so much right there. This is SummerSlam.
Yeah, 99.
Bro, I don't remember, John. I swear. I don't remember. I really don't.
So basically, Triple H could have won the title at SummerSlam, but he does not. Foley does. Foley loses it the next night to Triple H. And then Triple H is, first-time world champion and is kind of now cemented as the main eventer. How important do you think Foley was to Triple H? Because it seems like it's uber important.
I think Foley was important to everybody, bro. I think he was important to Mr. McMahon, Triple H, Rock, Taker. I think he was important to everybody. You said at the beginning of this show that he was the glue, man. I think that is the perfect description, man. He definitely was the glue. He was in everything. He was involved in everything. He was involved with all the characters. I remember when he was doing stuff with Goldust. What a great visual that was when he was calling somebody was calling somebody mommy. Was he calling Goldust?
He was calling Goldust mommy. Yeah.
Tremendous. Bro, there'll never be another like him. We could talk about Mount Rushmore's till we're blue in the face. Nobody. Mick Foley is the one guy there will never, ever be anybody close to coming near. There will be people closer to The Rock, and there will be people closer to Austin. Nobody will ever come close to Mick Foley, ever.
Speaking of The Rock and Sock Connection, 3-time tag team champions. Obviously, their chemistry was unbelievable. They feuded, and now they're teaming up together. Rock is the perfect straight man. He wants nothing to do with him. There's a great scene where Foley thinks he's talking to him, but Rock's really on the phone, and Foley's like all happy with him, and Rock has no idea that he was even listening. So a lot of funny, good stuff. And of course, like you mentioned, This Is Your Life, 8.4 rating, which doesn't mean 8.4 million, it means more like 10 million, but 8.4 rating for that segment. That might have went a little over the time.
That went way over. I got chewed out at the gorilla position. I had to break the news to Mick that Vince was really, really, really pissed off. And the next day, when we're in the middle of like the production meeting and the number came in, Mick was pacing back and forth, waiting for the meeting to be over just to shove it up Vince's ass. And he shoved the rating up Vince's ass, and Vince no-sold it, bro. No-sold it. Would not put it over.
Wow. Come on, Vince.
I know, right?
Then, of course, he continues to feud with Triple H. Royal Rumble 2000. I was at this as well, Madison Square Garden. The loss to Triple H in a great street fight. Again, gets Triple H over big time because it's like, wow, how tough is this guy? He's beaten, Cactus Jack in New York. And so it just really got him over. And then No Way Out 2000, he loses Triple H again, this time in a Hell in a Cell match. It's supposed to be his retirement match. So now he's really getting Triple H over. He's retiring for the guy. He's having the guy put him out of action, put him out of the ring, retiring him.
It's funny because you're reminding me of all this Triple H stuff. I don't understand. Why does Triple H not feel he's as indebted to Mick Foley as he is Shawn Michaels? How is Mick Foley not promo coach? How's that happen? How do you have a Mick Foley not schooling wrestlers in the WWE who are doing horrible, cringeworthy promos? How is that guy not helping them?
And he seems like he'd be so good too, because he can kind of get something out of you. You know what I mean? Because he's getting it. He literally is getting it out of the Undertaker. He's getting it. He brings stuff out of you.
I don't know, bro. That's all. See, John. That's all politics. That's all political BS. That's all it is. That's all it ever will be. You've got the best top 3 promos of all time, putting in God knows how many years at the WWE, literally sitting on the sidelines. Unbelievable.
He returns at WrestleMania 2000 thanks to Lyndon McMahon. He's part of the 4-way main event with Big Show, The Rock, and Triple H. Triple H ends up winning this match. Wasn't a great match, wasn't a great return, but you got to do it for the payday. And if they need a little help with WrestleMania because Steve Austin is out, you got to return and do it. So, that's basically what he does. He didn't wrestle again for 4 years after that match. He does become the commissioner in 2000. Foley is the commissioner, which is funny. He used to sing that, which literally went exactly with his song.
Yeah.
So every time I hear the song, I always, Foley is the commissioner. So that just gets stuck in your head. He did really well as commissioner. It's kind of the best commissioner really they had, I think, just because of the way he handled it. A lot of comedic sketches with Edge and Christian and Angle and everybody. So obviously really, really well. Again, he was the returning again in 2001 referee for Vince McMahon versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 17. He ends up ending his commissionership at Survivor Series 01 and basically departs after a backstage fight with Vince McMahon. He'll return again for WrestleMania 20 and a feud with Randy Orton. Him and The Rock lose to Evolution. Orton Orton, Flair, and Batista, 2 out of 3, or 2 versus 3 in handicap match. Then Backlash 2004, he fights Randy Orton in what he says is his favorite match, which was an awesome match, which gets Orton over. And hey, who's still wrestling in 2025 as the top dog and kind of like the elder statesman, Randy Orton, thanks to a lot in parts of
I never saw that match, so that's interesting.
Great match, yep. And then he has a feud with Flair eventually too in SummerSlam 05, and like they had actually a pretty decent match, but the promos were better going back and forth, and what Flair said about him in his book, what Foley said about him, and them going back and forth. So that's basically kind of in a nutshell his run for basically 85 to 2005, 2006. 86 to about 2005, 2006. So obviously with some breaks in there in between, but what a run for Foley. He was just, like you said, just awesome. I think a glue guy, just unbelievably great. But to me, the guy that could kind of carry anybody. Everyone would say that about Brett, and I agree. Like Foley was a different kind of that type of Brett guy where you can carry the guy in the ring. He can carry a guy everywhere. So he was kind of, to me, in that same vein. He was like, well, you put him in there with anybody, he can carry him. Even a young guy like Orton at that point where they're like, hey, this is the next guy. Can you give him a hand? And he gets him to the next level.
So what was the real reason? Like, how did they stop using him?
Him and Vince got into a backstage fight. I guess Foley didn't like the way certain things were going. He wasn't really being used during like the invasion storyline, created differences.
That stuff and the Austin stuff would have never happened if I was still there, bro. That stuff would have never, ever, ever happened. I guarantee you, Mick would have went on to have at least another 5 years.
The Austin stuff, I mean, we won't get into inexcusably how bad that creative is. Like, oh, you're just going to do it. Why is the greatest wrestler of all time wrestling a rookie in a King of the Ring qualifying match? The guy won King of the Ring 6 years ago. What the hell are you doing? That's such bad booking.
That's what I'm talking about. I think their shelf lives would have definitely went longer if we stayed. That's a shame.
You would have been like, okay, let's work this. Let's do that. Vince is like, no, you're doing this, pal. Like, no. Like, what? Come on.
Yeah, so crazy, man. Crazy. Yep.
So what was the last time you talked to the Mick Foley?
Oh, my God, bro. He was see, bro, it's weird. He was doing a show out here in Denver a couple of years ago, and he contacted me to go to the show. Okay.
Oh, wow.
It was during COVID though, bro. Okay. And bro, Mick and I are kind of on opposite sides of the fence when it comes to stuff like that. But I could care less. I love Mick. I love Kevin. That never gets in the way of it. But I remember he asked me to go to the show, and I had to call him to let him know that I was not vaxxed. And he was a little weird after I told him that. So because he was a little weird, I'm like, I'm not going to go to this because I don't want to have any issues with Mick. You know what I'm saying? And if he's a little uncomfortable because he sees things a certain way, I'm just not going to go. And I think, John, honestly, and it was cool and everything, no problem. But I think that was actually the last time. So whenever COVID was, that was the last time.
Wow. Okay. So let's just wrap it up and kind of just talk about his legacy. What is his legacy? We're saying, glue guy can carry anybody, but what really is his legacy, Mick?
God, bro, I hate to say it, but his legacy, after we talk about all this, is probably the most underappreciated talent in the history of the WWE anyway, because everything we've just talked about, how is his name never brought up in the conversation of Mount Rushmore? How is his name never brought up in the conversation of best promo? Like, are you kidding me? Bro, I worked with them all. I heard all the promos. I was standing right there. How is that not in the conversation? I don't know. What was he taken for granted, John? That Mick was always going to deliver. Mick was always going to cut the great promo. Mick was always going to get everybody over. Maybe he was taken for granted, and that's why he's underappreciated. But I mean, when you're talking about Mount Rushmore, Ric Flair didn't play 3 characters. Hulk Hogan didn't play 3 characters. How is that dude not in the conversation?
Man, Foley is, to me, like you said, he's totally underappreciated.
Yeah, I agree. I agree
He
with
was
that.
easily one of the best. Like I said before, glue guy for the Attitude Era. All those guys owe him. Austin, Rock,
I
Triple
agree.
H, especially Taker, especially Orton, especially
Yep.
all those guys. Even post Attitude Era, obviously Orton, but like all the Attitude Era, Vince,
Yep.
Kane. You know,
Yep.
they all owe him one.
Yeah, I agree 1000%.
And to me too, like the in-ring stuff. Watch a lot of those matches. He's having some of the best matches of the night, like over and over and
Yep.
over and over and over. So
no limits. He had no limitations,
yep.
bro. There were no limitations. Like you said, and I agree, he's paying for it today, but
Yep.
he could not help himself. He had to go out there every night and be the absolute best he could be.
And your favorite was Corporate Mankind. I might have to go the heel Dude Love myself. And it was funny. I asked him, and he said like chemistry wise, for whatever reason, when he wrestled, Mankind and Cactus always had better chemistry with the wrestlers. And he was, and I'm funny, like he's talking about it as if it's not him. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah,
like,
of
well, he
course,
kind of had better
of course.
chemistry. And then I was like, yeah, but I go, but Dude Love had awesome chemistry. And then literally at the same time, he goes with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I said, hey, exactly. He's like, all right.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right. So Dude Love had chemistry too. But it was great. The way he was talking about it, like it was like, Mick, we're talking about you. Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
not me.
yeah.
So
No,
he almost
bro,
kind of like out of it.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that I really, really miss. I mean, bro, guys I really, really miss, like two hands, like seriously.
Yeah.
He's definitely at the top of that list.
So great. And when I go back and watch stuff too, he always kind of steals the show. He's the best. So great. And each character is so great in their own way. It's like Cactus is going to kick ass. Mankind's going to do something crazy. Dude Love's going to might do something funny. Then the corporate Mankind might do something funny. So
yeah,
he hits every facet, whether it's comedy, seriousness, or if you want to like brawl and like this guy's going to kill somebody, you want blood, he can do that too.
Well, I remember I was watching a scene, and my God, you talk about the nuances that are so freaking lost today and were the best things on every show. I remember, bro, somebody being stretchered out. It might have been Vince, okay? And there's a lot of commotion. There's so many people around him. And, bro, all you keep seeing is this cup of Coke with a straw, and it keeps popping in. It keeps popping in. It keeps popping in. Then Mick reveals himself. He's trying to give Mr. McMahon a sip of soda. Bro, those things, nobody else in the world would have thought of doing those things. Nobody else in the world. And those are the things, man, that you just never, ever forget.
And Vince's reaction is so great to all that stuff. Like, get this guy out of here. Don't touch me. Like it's so good.
So good. So good.